Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Uh, Sorry about the lighting first off, but as you guys can see from the title, we're going to talk about our experience at regionals this weekend. And for anybody that doesn't want to watch the whole video, short version, it did not go well. But I will tell you guys how my record went. I will tell you guys what I thought of how the deck performed, and I definitely want to talk to you guys about some cards that overperformed and underperformed, and some changes we're definitely going to be making to the deck going forward. So, without further ado, let's jump in and talk about regionals. Alright, guys. So, first off, we're using YGO Omega. After trying it out, I actually think this is probably the best Yu Gi Oh! Simulator besides Master Duel. This is like what I wish Master Duel was. It's a great simulator. You guys should download it. I think it's fantastic. But this is the build we took to regionals. So, real quick, talk about how bad I did. I went. I only won one round, legit, out of my entire 8 rounds. I stuck it out because right after round one, I knew immediately that I needed the practice. So my first round was against Kashtira, and while the deck performed great, I made some major misplays that really just sealed the deal. So game one, our opponent went first. On their first summon, it was Unicorn. They searched a spell card. We actually hit them with a droll, and all he did was set one. He made a Shangri-Era and pass turn. And he put Shangri-Era in the extra monster zone. Playing the fact that we're playing Cyber Dragons, we saw that, I was gassed. But I think I got too wrapped up in it because I summoned Core, used Core, searched out Emergency, used Emergency, searched out Naxter, linked Core into Almirage. Mind you, I had my Dogmatika package in hand as well. So I ended up discarding a card because I think I had two Ecclesias. I discarded one of them to summon the Naxter. And then I did something I would never do because I definitely overcommitted to it. But I actually contact fused my Naxter with Almirage and his Shangri-Era to have a 3600 Mega Fleet, which was really weird for me. I never do anything like that. But obviously, you know, I want to get the extra monster in the grave so I could summon Maximus, and I ended up special summoning Ecclesia, search Maximus, banish for Maximus. We actually already had Fleur de Lis in hand, so as I'm sending stuff to the graveyard, I ended up sending Abkalor and Titaniclad, so I had Dark and Grave, which in hindsight I should have sent Garura, but I was trying to OTK my opponent, so I actually ditched Shadell Schism and just kept on to the Fleur de Lis, which again, all wrong. I should have just not activated Titaniclad. But I ended up playing the Fleur de Lis and tried to swing out for game. His one face down was a Book of Moon. He booked my Mega Fleet, and I just couldn't get the damage to kill him. And in hindsight, there were a lot of better options I could have made. I could have changed up what I sent off Maximus. I could have changed up the order of my attacks. I could have kept an extra monster on the board by not contact fusing my own monster. It was just, I was really upset about it, and honestly that's probably what set me off for the whole rest of the day. Game two, we opened up a complete brick, which is pretty hard in this deck. We opened up two Book of Moons, a droll, a duality, and a hurt. Practically no, we didn't even open up a Hertz because we opened up Maximus because we couldn't summon a single card. We went first because we lost. We ended up sending the two Book of Moons and passed. As soon as he summoned Fenrir, we booked the Fenrir, and he basically had to pass turn because he never got the search off. He didn't have other monsters to summon, and when it came back to us, we still didn't draw a single engine piece. So went back to his turn. We tried to book another one of his monsters. He was able to just combo out and killed us. I didn't feel like Cashier was too overpowering for our deck, especially with, you know, we have our Kaijus, we have our Book of Moons. We had ways around cards like a Rise Heart. And then once he made a Rise Heart, after he comboed out the second turn, he made a Rise Heart, and when I went, I finally drew into a Nadir Servant, but I couldn't even activate it because I can't send anything to the graveyard. So I basically just gave him the game. Round 2, we went against Branded Chimera, and my god, that deck was everywhere. I also didn't realize how powerful the deck really was. This is one deck I absolutely was not prepared for, and it's funny because it was the one I played against probably the most. So, game 1, he goes first, he takes it. Game 2, I go first, I win the lock, I take it. Game 3, sorry, other way around. Game 1, I took it. Game 2, he took it. Game 1, I ended up winning the dice roll. I locked him out. Game 2, he comboed out, and I just couldn't catch up. Game 3, I ended up setting up Infinity Window with my full board, and this dude opened up double Book of Moon and just gained so much advantage in that one turn. That was very tight. But he ended up beating me in round 2. Round 3 was kind of the downfall for me. Like at this point I didn't think I was gonna be able to top. Apparently I could have still topped as SX2, but I went into game 3 still. I was like, I'm just gonna play it out. Obviously I need the practice. I was making a lot of misplays, and then I made another major misplay, which turned out to not be a misplay, but it was just me doubting myself, even though I have so much experience with the Cyber Dragon deck. So I played against Branded Despia round 3. First off, the dude was an asshole. He tried to play off like he was nice, but he was being super passive aggressive, insulting my deck. Like I wanted to beat him just because he was a dick. And game 1 was close, but he ended up taking it. Game 2 is where the major misplay happened. I lied. I did make a misplay in game 1 too. I drolled on my own turn. Like a dumbass. So I used Maximus, sent a bunch of cards. He sent a bunch of cards. He sent Garou and Albion. He drew a card and I drolled. I know, I'm stupid. I forgot that Albion isn't just you add the spell trap, you could also set the spell trap. So I ended up wasting a droll and he got a combo piece, and I couldn't even get Fleur de Lis from hand at the end of turn. I was so pissed at myself. But game 2 is the one that it set me on tilt for the rest of the day. So I window locked him, and with proper negates with Infinity and Ash, he couldn't do anything. Literally, his whole turn was he summoned Quiritus, swung into window, and then passed. He had 1 card in hand. So me knowing what Quiritus does, putting all my attack points to 0, I'm like, alright, easy to deal with. I draw a card, I go to main, standby main, I activate Infinity, attempting to absorb the Quiritus. He goes to use the Quiritus to make all my monsters 0. My dumbass negates it. I negate and destroy him, and Quiritus effect goes off when it's destroyed, allowing him to summon Fallen of Albaz from the deck. He discards his 1 card to be able to fuse my Infinity with Fallen of Albaz to make Albion. Albion ends up making a Mary Jade. I fuck myself. Now, granted, I wasn't over. I still played through it. I had 2 cards in hand, literally both cores. My field is full. I had Secure Gardener, Ecclesia Maximus, and Fleur de Lis. I needed to make an extra monster zone, so I had to figure out, because I did have a plan. I normal summoned core, searched emergency. Contact fused the core with the Secure Gardener to make a Mega Fleet. Used the emergency, searched Naxter, discarded the other core to summon Naxter. Naxter brought back Infinity. And here's where I doubted myself. I went to use Infinity's absorb effect, his attach effect, and the guy's like, oh, he literally said, oh damn, that's not a hard once per turn, that's crazy. And I don't know why, but I froze and was like, oh wait, I already used Infinity's effects this turn. Infinity is a hard once per turn. I fucked up, and I'm thinking I have a vanilla Infinity on the board, and that just got me all fucked up. I end up, for anybody that doesn't know, Infinity is actually a soft once per turn. You can actually absorb a monster and negate once for every copy of Infinity. So that Infinity was live. I could have attempted to absorb his monster. He probably would have banished it with Mary Jade, but still, that would have been something he would have had to waste Mary Jade on. Because what happened next was I used Maximus, sending Entis, went to pop the Mary Jade, and he popped my Fleur de Lis. The other card I sent was Garua, and I top decked into Book of Moon, was able to Book of Moon as Albion and swing over and damage him, but then because of Albion going to the grave, he was able to make a comeback on the end of the turn. And I didn't even absorb one of my own monsters with the Infinity, because I am a dumbass. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, if I had just grabbed Nova, because Infinity wasn't even live, Nova could have swung big. I would have been able to do completely different plays. He would have probably had to banish the Nova instead of the Fleur de Lis. And it's just, that wasn't even the point. Either A, I could have just let the Coriolis effect go through, my type points would have been reduced, but he had one card in hand to make a comeback with, and I still had my Omni negate with Infinity. And then, when I brought back the Infinity, I should have realized that he's not a hard one to return. I should have been able to keep going, so after that, I was basically on tilt for the rest of the day, but I still played. I felt bad for my opponents because a lot of them I gave unnecessary attitudes to. But round 4, my opponent didn't show. Round 5, we went against Branded Chimera again, except this guy was playing a little bit of a different variant, and he basically superpowered me to death. And it was bad. I tried to recover. I tried to keep going. At one point, I had the window lock, and he was able to fuse it away with his own monster. It's just, the Chimera package is nuts too. Like them being able to draw 2 to 3 cards on their turn plus your turn. Ugh. Round 6 was Vanquish Soul, and that one was another one that pissed me off because game 1, like I have a great matchup against Vanquish Soul. This was the first time I've ever actually lost to Vanquish Soul with this build. And first off, first game, standby phase, this dude dropped Shifter. I basically summoned Core, added Overflow past turn, and he just gained enough advantage to make it so I couldn't catch up. Game 2 I won. Game 3 he TC booed me, and I did do a cool ass play that I'm still very proud of. I summoned a Cyber Dragon from hand. I just executed his monster. I Book of Moon my Cyber Dragon and then Contact Fuse like that. I thought it was cool because I dodged one of the most annoying cards for Cyber Dragon, which is there can only be one. And even my opponent was like, that was cool as shit. But he ended up winning. I burned through my resources too fast. Round 7 was another Vanquish Soul player. That was our one real win. I didn't count the guy that didn't show up. But we ended up playing against Vanquish Soul, and that guy we smoked. He also made a major misplay where he went to use Dimensional Barrier on us and then chained his own Quick Play spell to bring back a monster. We negated it because D-Barrier hadn't gone off yet and we had Dragoon on the board. And we just beat his ass throughout that. And then the last round was against Sword Soul. That one was pretty back and forth, but in game 3, he literally top decked the one card to make a board, and you know how Sword Soul is. They're super consistent at making a board out of like nothing. So it was what it was, and by that point I was mentally checked out. And I took apart the deck as soon as I got home. I was just so pissed off, and I actually made a branded Cyber Dragon variant, which was fun. But I ended up going back to this one because I really feel like this is the best way to play Cyber Dragons right now. It gives them access to a lot of different options. It allows them to still play Cyber Dragons, which is the problem the branded package doesn't. Because of the fact that it locks you into fusions, you can't play the full power of Cyber Dragon. The only issue I have with the Dogmatika variant is how tight the extra deck is. I would love to be able to fit a Seeger in, or something to have a little more flexibility with OTKs, but it's fine. Now, to talk to you guys about what cards I thought performed really well, what cards I thought didn't really work out, and definitely some changes I'm making to the deck just off some things I realized. So first off, Droll and Lockbird did nothing all day long besides like the one Kashtira player and the one Chimera player. Like I played against a Chimera player whose first move was Cornfield, which Cornfield searches an illusion monster, and So that's how they get Mirror Sword Knight, and then they summon Mirror Sword Knight to get Big Wing Berthelmet, and then they get their pluses. Because Cornfield was his very first action, Droll locked him out of his entire turn. That was the only time Droll worked on Chimera, because Branded Chimera does not give a shit about Droll. So Ash Blossom is probably going to be going back into the main in place of Droll. Droll is still a good card and should definitely be in the side because some matchups just can't handle Droll, especially rogue decks. But like, Kashtira can play through Droll. Pearly can play, not so much, but Pearly can play through Droll. Branded, every variant of Branded can play through Droll, and it was just. There were so many times where if I had had Ash instead of Droll, I would have won. That was a card that definitely underperformed. What other cards underperformed? Dark Ruler no more. Absolutely fucking useless in this current format. There's so many decks that even after you Dark Ruler them, they'll use spell or trap cards or other monster effects to just be able to reestablish their board or at least just survive. I mean, that you can't kill them with Dark Ruler no more, so they're just gonna come get you on the clapback anyway. Like, Branded Chimera just fuses out their monsters, makes a whole new board. Vanquish Soul just bounces and exchanges their monsters so they have effects back on board. Like, Kashtira can make a whole board out of nothing on their following turn. Like, it's stupid. Yeah. Dark Ruler no more, ain't it? Book of Eclipse. Book of Eclipse is a great card, but not for this build. I sided into Book of Eclipse one time, and that was against the Sword Soul matchup, and I did see it, but it never really helped me out. Evenly is good. Evenly did help break a couple boards, but again, giving up the battle phase does hurt. So I'm gonna leave Evenly in for now because there's some decks that just don't have an answer to Evenly, but it's still on the lower end of effectiveness for right now. Now, cards that overperformed. Book of Moon was clutch in every situation. Book of Moon was fire. Whether it came to stopping synchro plays, stopping XYZ plays, hell, even stopping some fusion plays. Being able to flip my own stuff face down. I had a dude summon Fallen of Abaz on me, tried to fuse with my Infinity after I had already used the Infinity Gate. I booked a Moon my own Infinity, he couldn't fuse it. Because the ruling is, when it comes to fusing your own things, you can use face down monsters, but you can't use your opponent's face down monsters. Like Book of Moon, taking out Infinite Impermanence Book of Moon, I did not regret it at all. Fantastic. What else overperformed? Faded Infinity things. I guess that was pretty much it. Book of Moon was the big winner. Everything else did basically what you would expect it to do. Cyberlord Fusion stole a couple games. Duality did duality things. Obviously, Dragoon still wins games. Now, some changes I'm going to make to the deck right away after that, and after some playtesting after the fact, because my buddy and I were talking about what happened at regionals. We ended up playing some games and we ended up realizing a couple things. So first off, Ash goes to the main, Droll comes out to the side. Second off, Dark Ruler no more is coming out in favor of a card I honestly should have put in the first place. Secret Village. We're putting that back in. So Secret Village, I know what everybody says. You know, it can be a brick because what if you draw and don't have any spellcasters? The thing is, that's kind of the issue with most side deck cards. Either A, you have to see it and it's in the situation that you're siding in for, and sometimes it can be a dead draw. We're gonna have it in the side deck for going first, because that plus Infinity window plus Dragoon window, like, that can push our board to the next level, because now our opponent has one normal summon against an one special summon against an Omni Negate, and they can't use any of their spell cards. There are so many times where spell cards were the problem with keeping my stuff on the board. And then Book of Eclipse is also coming out, but I'll show you why in a minute. So another card that I had to take another look at because I wish I had ran it and didn't know that it actually worked until literally yesterday. And you guys, my Cyber Dragon fans, you guys are going to appreciate this one. And that's Clockwork Knight. So I didn't put Clockwork Knight in the deck because I thought it clashed with Duality. So obviously the big plays with Duality are any of our level 5s into Rampage, our level 8s into Cyber Twin, or Maximus into Dragoon, or Fleur de Lis into Dragoon. That last one is a big one because it's the only way we can have to get Dragoon out, and Dragoon's a pretty potent card combined with the rest of the stuff we have in the deck. So what I didn't know about Duality was, here's the effect. Tribute one light or dark monster, special summon one light or dark monster from your hand or extra deck with the same original type and level, but a different original attribute. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one light and dark monster and one dark monster from your graveyard, shuffle them back into the deck, draw a card. That one word, original. So it doesn't matter what type we turn our monsters into. As long as their original type is one thing, we just have to match their original type. So even under Clockwork Knight, we can still Duality Maximus and Fleur de Lis into a Dragoon. And this also solves one of the problems I have with the window lock. Window only having 2200 attack points makes it really, really easy to get over, especially with Fenrir still in the format and in so many decks. The amount of times people would just Fenrir swing into Window was just so frustrating. But now with Clockwork Knight on the board with Window, now Window is a 27. Because their monsters lose 500 attack points, in order to get over Window, they need a monster with a base 32 or higher. And that just sounds so good. So Clockwork Knight is decent going first. It's better going second because their opponent has to answer to it or risk getting their entire board wiped. So we're going to throw these in. We're going to throw a couple of these in. We're only throwing in 2 for right now because I only own 2 in real life. We might up it to 3. But of course, it starts as an Earth Machine. We need an Earth Machine target. So you guys should be able to figure out what we're going to throw in. Therion King Regulus, the boy. Obviously, great search target for Clockwork Knight and an additional Omni Negate. So we have 3 ways to get to Omni Negates in this deck right now. We actually end up putting our Kaijus in the side because, you know, they're for dedicated going second. Eltanin. This one actually hurts because I swear Eltanin comes in clutch all the goddamn times since I put it back in the deck. So we might try to find something else to put in. I don't know yet. I might just... Because there was one other change that we made, which was taking out Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave is a great card. I wish it was at 2 or 3. It saves games, but at 1, it's such a rare chance to see it that I just think I can live without it. And this was my buddy's suggestion. He said I should put in Therion Disc Coliseum for A. It's another way to search out Regulus, so I can actually use Regulus rather than waiting for Clockwork Knight to get destroyed. And B, it can protect my monsters from destruction by battle, which again leads back into the issue with Winda. So we put Eltanin in the side in case we need a mass board wipe along with the Jizakirus. So this is what our side deck turned into. And this is what our main deck turned into after a bunch of playtesting. Now, am I going to keep the Therion Disc Coliseum? I don't know. I might take it out to put Eltanin back in the main and put something else on the side. Or I might put back the Call by the Grave. I really can't handle the hand traps. Because really, the only hand trap that absolutely kills us is Drool. And while Drool is in the format, if my opponent has a Droll, I mean, they have the Droll. There's nothing you can do about it. But every other hand trap in the game we can play through. And that is something I am very proud to say about this deck. It still has a really good going first board. It still has a great going second board. It's more of a beatdown rather than just make big fusion and swing. You kind of sometimes have to beat down your points, life points, but it still works really, really well with all our OTK makers. Again, guys, I'm sorry I let you guys down. We have a month to prep and plan and test before the next regional, and I'm definitely still trying to go for that top. I really appreciate all your guys' support, and I'm glad you guys stuck out in this video for this long. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. If you guys know how to beat these meta decks, like I said, the decks I saw most, Kashtira, Pearly. I didn't play Pearly, but it was definitely there. Unchained was one that was definitely there. I didn't play that one, but I did check out the top tables, and it was definitely doing some work. Branded Chimera was the bane of my existence. The bane of my existence that day. Vanquish Soul I pretty much know how to handle. It's just, you know, sometimes you can't control the draw. Anyway, guys, if you want to check me out on social media, those links will be down below. That is it for me, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.